Hey everybody, this is Obi-Wan Pez on N Simplex Pachinko. Starting out in Astroneer tonight, and going to be touching on finding more research around town, or around, yeah. Going to be doing more research around Glacio, and then once we get done with Glacio, we're going to be heading on back to Silva, probably back to DeSolo, try to find a few items that are left strewn about, and then gonna head on back to Silva and create the chem lab and atmospheric condensers. Now that we have enough materials for it, we just need to find one more tungsten, or one tungsten, off of DeSolo. So we're going to nope. Oh man. Alright, cool. So we are currently in the underground on Glacio, trying to find as many research pieces as we can. Normally we need somewhere around 20,000. I'm not exactly sure how much, but once we get pretty close, we'll be good enough to head on back and find some more interesting stuff just laying around. We'll be able to go back to the North Pole, clean up a bit, and take all of our stuff back to Silva. There we go. Research scan for 330. Again, all the ones we find down here are going to be pretty decent, usually about 300, 350. And there is sometimes some problems just being able to navigate around or see very far in the distance, just because it has a pretty good fall off. There's one. Got a boomaloon up here. And we'll go and just pick up shuttle and bring it back to us. Now we could bring some of these research samples as well. Usually we can package them up and take them back, or we could create a research chamber here on Glacio and run a couple of them. I think typically I'm not even going to bother necessarily, just because we can find research samples just laying around. And again, we should be able to find enough. So we're up to about 3,000 now. It's always a good idea to stay close. Alright, so this is basically 1,000 more than we had. Another one over there, that's good. Yep, totally. Yep, this is fine. Alright, maybe I'll just leave it alone. Alright, additional benefit. If we needed it, there's plenty of titanium around, or titanite. And again, just as a helpful reminder, we did park our base at the North Pole, so basically all we need to do is mouse over ourselves, find a bearing toward north, and just keep going that way. So if we just start moving in sort of a, let's pick easterly direction-ish, then we should be able to more or less keep the same bearing, not have to worry about straying too far away or end up like next to the South Pole, which, you know, it'd be fine. It'd just take a long time to get back. Alright, so we have a lot of titanite and a lot of aluminum. Yep. The aluminum ore, anyway, right there. So if we needed any at this point, we got plenty of it. Okay. Alright, gonna come around this way, find some more research samples, and figure out where we are. I figure we're pretty close to 10,000 at this point. 11, cool. The things we absolutely have to have. I mean, I'm going to want an extractor just cause, but we don't have enough for that yet. Alright, atmospheric condenser. I like the shredders. I don't know that we're going to do that yet. Large storage I like a lot. Helps keep a much larger space. And right toward the bottom we already have the medium silo, so that's good. Let's see, do we get the buggy? No, wait, sorry. That one, rover. Okay. Plastic and rubber, so this is an easy one to get. medium and the large shuttles are out of reach at the moment. We're going to want that, so we need another 2,000 at least. And I'm suddenly realizing that I also didn't put out my usual Twitter calls for anybody who wanted to come in, so there's no link, but oh well. Oops. There's some research samples that I just passed. Alright. 5,000 there. Like, I think we're pretty much good at this point. Aluminum alloy and rubber. Aluminum alloy is not terribly difficult. I think that one actually would have been better to get instead of the medium, but whatever, it's fine. We'll get all the other stuff soon enough, at least. So we can take our shuttle, head on back to the North Pole, and start organizing our stuff and get back to DeSolo. And some people at this point might be like, well, why aren't you going to complete Glacio? You can. At this point, it takes 32 power, I think it is, to actually activate the surface gateway, and then it's going to spend I'm going to need to spend a lot of time digging downward to try to find the center. Due to the fact that I currently only have a level 1 drill, and you know, at some point there is stuff that you can't even drill through with that. It would be, at the moment, a little bit better of an idea to just kind of stall that, and for now, at least, maybe we'll activate the surface gateway and then take off with a bunch of our generators. I'm still catching on the ground. This is a little weird. Alright, just in case I need any more. Which again, I don't think I really do. You usually need about 8 total. And I think I got probably that, or maybe just at least like 4 or 6. Anyway, can't hurt to use a little extra space to pick these up for now, at least. If it turns out we don't have room in the shuttle, then we can leave some of them behind. There we go. dig up. I think for the moment we're just gonna start walking this way. Where is my mouse? Okay. It's not allowing the shuttle through. Fascinating. Cool. Yeah, I'm starting to click off of the window. Right, north is still that way. North is this way, so we're probably getting pretty close here. Alright, so, for anybody who doesn't know, Astroneer is, it's kind of, survival sandbox sort of game, created by SES, or System Era Softworks. This started out, we're getting close because I can hear the, gateway music. System Era Softworks developed this in and around 2016 especially, but, it was an extended process. They were working on this game for quite a little while, and it was released in, I guess, probably alpha form under the Steam Greenlight system. And one of my friends said, "Hey, I think you'd really like this." And so the two of us just kind of messed around a bit. There were a large number of things that are no longer in the game, or in very different forms. So as you have now, I was able to deduce, oh well, clearly I want to tether myself everywhere, and just use tethers constantly to make sure that I have enough oxygen and power to get anywhere I needed to get. If you're just beginning on the game, that's a really great way to do your exploration, but very quickly it becomes obvious that that's just not really a viable strategy if you want to do this game at all fast. So few people in the so-dubbed Astroneer community just kind of let me know, hey, you don't really need those. I was like, oh, okay. So it was really quite interesting to first really see how people got around in the game, try to understand like how they would even play without being able to tether themselves and get oxygen wherever they need. I mean, one answer is as long as you have resin, as is here, the yellow stuff, then you can make oxygen filters, and that's all well and good. But you know, oxygen filters only last a certain amount of time, and you have to have a constant supply of resin in order to make sure you have it. So, the answer that Captain Space Toaster figured out was just go faster. And as it turned out, he needed like 1 or maybe 2 oxygen filters and was able to zip down to the cores of planets with very little effort at all whatsoever. So one of the strategies was core sliding, and I was hoping at some point to do a video of core sliding, but I was so bad at it that it ended up just creating more problems than I was able to actually do in a video. So it was somewhat unfortunate, but I believe at some point he had also come out with a video, so it was probably much better. Alright, we're going to try and mine our way back up to the surface, see where we are, because we should be pretty close to the gateway, and by extension pretty close to our base, but I haven't gone all the way around the pole, but I didn't see the I didn't see the ramp up that I had created in the first place, so I have no idea where it is at this point. And unlike in real life, stalactites are not so much of a problem, so you know, you hit the ceiling and make them fall, it's not going to be a big deal. Okay, so it looks like we have the gateway here, and is that a solid rock wall? Yes, it is. We're under it. Cool. So we'll pick this up, move it up here, and pick a new direction. So go off here in an effort to miss the gateway, and we'll come out right next to it. There's some iron right up ahead of us here. Iron again, very useful, but at the moment we don't really have much need of steel. Can't even make steel without first getting the chem lab. So I want to thank everybody while I'm here who came to the Wednesday stream for some mathematical content. If anyone is interested, N-Simplex Pachinko is host to two sides. There is Office Hours, which is my math stream, which I run basically just math help. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll endeavor to get those questions covered during our sessions. And then we have Office Hours, or After Hours, which is now. So it's a gaming stream, happens on Fridays at 9 p.m. And I will occasionally do some random streams that just are unscheduled. But I mean, everybody does that, right? Okay. So now we have to figure out where our base is, because I set up a bunch of stuff on a cliff. And I was pretty sure it was overlooking the gateway and not actually on it. But we'll see how it goes. Let's get to higher ground, see if we can see. I dug that out. Alright, it would also help if I had created a beacon and placed that around. So, lesson for you. Yep, there it is. Okay, so we're here. Alright, there we go. Got some titanium now. 8. Alright, so that's what I needed. The resin for now, because we need it, but it's not super important. Alright. So when SES was developing Astroneer, it was intentional on their art style to make something that looked a little more cartoony, or that you were in fact playing essentially with an action figure. And one of the fans ended up creating, or like 3D printing, an actual Astroneer with the backpack with removable modules and stuff like that. I am going to encourage you check out the documentary that NoClip did on Astroneer, because it goes into all of this in great detail and talks about all the people who were behind Astroneer. So they all did a brilliant job. I have absolutely loved this. Since my friend and I started doing this in 2016, give or take. I don't remember exactly when it was. And I kind of let it go by the wayside for a while. I had some other stuff going on at work and whatnot. And when I came back to it, I was so very much impressed with the amount of care that they put into it. There's also some events that I'm going to probably poke around a little bit and show off some of those as well. Alright, so most of this we're just going to leave here and then come back and use it later. But I just want to take the titanite, and I want to take the iron. Okay. So I'll set this down here. Okay. now it is titanium. It is no longer titanite. Anyway. Yeah, I'm not sure why I dug that hole, but it's cool. So we'll stick the medium storage on the shuttle itself. We'll take 4 iron with us. I don't think we need anywhere near that much, but, you know, why not? Take some extra titanium. And might as well fill up if we can. Nope. Alright, cool. I think that's us. So, get in the shuttle, and we'll launch it to another planet. Go to DeSolo to try to get wolframite. I don't have any room. Nah, that's fine. Sonia Novus, Calidor, Silva. DeSolo's behind it. Yep. We just need the 1 wolframite, so it's not a huge deal. I'll just grab that and then get out. Alright, anything good? Not really. Okay. So we'll land over here, which is kind of close to this gateway. And let's see. Drop this stuff for now. Let's not get it lost in the caverns or anything. Alright, and we'll just take this off in case we find something really cool. Actually, we should take this with us. Drop the titanium here. And take the medium platform with us, just in case we find something really cool. And in fact, we can do this gateway pretty quickly and dig down fairly quickly to the center. Oh, but I don't have the required materials for the center of the planet. Okay. Should have seen that coming. All right. First of all, we can get rid of the drill mod for now. Second of all, we need a bunch of compound to make generators. 4, 5, 6. 7, 8. I'm not even really sure how many that I needed because I wasn't paying attention. All right. So at this point, we want generators. Two, 3. 6, 7, and 8. So I might as well leave this out for now. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I'm pretty sure we need 8, but we'll see how it goes. Oops. Alright, cool. Now we need organic to fill those slots, so we can just grab all this stuff all over the planet. Got a little scrub brush everywhere. There is not a whole lot on this particular, well, on the moon, just because I don't know, it's more desolate. Technically, I guess there's less atmosphere, even though none of it's breathable anyway. Oops. Yeah, right. Alright, so just in case. Nice. Okay. Yep, 8. So I'll just go hang out over here for a minute. Alright, gateway's unlocked. Now shut down. And I'm just gonna pop this up so that I don't forget where it is. Alright, didn't get very far. So, what you just saw was a very basic and awful attempt at a core slide. So, basically you just start running into a hole that you've made, and then start sliding on the ground. And hopefully you start digging faster than you're sliding. If you notice that you're sliding faster than you're digging, then you kind of tap back on the controls, and eventually you slow down a bit. So, generally speaking, you don't want to slide too fast, otherwise you just knock yourself right into the wall. There's some wolframite right behind us. So we'll go back up, get some O2. And we can also salvage our current thruster. This is another reason to do this. What? Okay, fine. There we go. Whoops. That hurt. Well, the good news is that if I did die here, I would just spawn back into the shuttle. So it wouldn't be very much of a loss. Alright, is that? No, it's not wolframite. No, it's back there. Alright, so the wolframite has this sort of bismuth looking appearance to it. Everything's very cubic. So we only really need one, but might as well just grab a second. And then there isn't anything else that's here that's really unique, so we're just going to get back to the shuttle and head back up top. What's up there? Is it just more? Yeah. Another benefit to... Oops. Another benefit to kind of a weird way that this works is if you grab onto your shuttle and get it to kind of angle itself off of whatever surface you're touching, it'll show you the normal angle, so that'll give you a perpendicular, and B, that'll also cause it to just automatically latch onto that particular point, which also means that you can have it embedded in rock. And it doesn't cause us any actual problems. Yeah, here we can't actually see it, but if you grab on, just zip it up like that, and that's fine. Alright, so we've opened that gateway, we have wolframite, and we can head back to Silva. Hopefully find our base pretty quickly. Okay, and one of the other great things that the SES has added is that you can increase and decrease your orbital speed so that you can move around the planet faster to hopefully find your base faster. There we go. Take this down for now and repackage once we get a new repackager. Let's see. Gonna hook this back up. Hook that back up. Okay, we've already got our trip dish from this planet, from this planet. need to... I left everything. Yep. Okay, cool. No, this is fine. So this is why I need people on the channel. Hey, guten Tag. Wie geht es Ihnen? Hope everything's going well for you, anonymous cat. I don't actually speak German, unfortunately, but I can make at least a worthy effort of it, I hope. I'm doing alright. How are you? I hope you're not in Germany, because that means it's, what, 3 in the morning? Well, you are welcome to hang out here. Hope I can offer something entertaining, or at the very least distracting. Oh, that's not what I wanted. But of course, for some reason, the system cannot. The system cannot read my mind, so I just whatever. Why, thank you. I don't know if that's good or bad, given that I'm a teacher, so it could just mean that all of my students are passing out. Alright, so we're going to get the chem lab up and running as soon as this glass processes. Have you played Astroneer before? Let's see, what else can I do at this exact moment in time? Alright, so I took my small printer and that's gone. But yeah, I can print another one, so I need to find some compound. There's some over there. Cool. So I'll stick this on the buggy. Boo. Yeah, so I'm not going to be giving away too much today in terms of story or secrets of anything that's here. So you probably hit me on a good day. Not that it was probably working correctly in the first place, right? I mean, it gets like 80% of what I do. Okay, so we got the chem lab. We can have that open. There's probably not a whole lot that I can do with this at the moment. Okay, so rubber is organic and resin. That I can do. And we might be able to get one of our medium buggies up and running here. Resin. Oops. Alright, rubber. And then, let's see, we had a medium printer to get the other stuff, so pull the oxygenator for now. iron, glass, and plastic, so we need a plastic. And we also need 2 plastic from here. So, how do you get plastic? Carbon and compound. Carbon I can either have, which I have a couple. Okay, so I've got now, oops. I need 3 plastic, so I need 3 organic. I can burn those to get carbon. And actually, I've already got 1 carbon there, so keep that one. Stick that on here. Yeah, you just missed it, Anonymous Cat. I dumped all of my stuff that I needed out on the surface of the moon, DeSolo, and then just immediately proceeded to take off and come back here. So instead of bringing all of that stuff back, it is now currently sitting on the surface of DeSolo. So having a good day. Alright, so we need 3 carbon and 3 compound. That's going to get us the plastic we need. I can then stick this over here. Auto renew. Take this thing off to there. Where did I just put the carbon? There. Whew. Really? I thought this was... Oh, okay. Alright, cool. So there's 1 plastic. And we're going to need... one more here. And we already got the 1 there. So I need another glass, and the iron is what I left behind. So that's unfortunate, but we'll go get it in a minute. Alright, and smelt quartz in a glass. Leave the plastic here. Rubber. Alright. 1 rubber, 2 plastic. So we can at least get that done. Yeah, we'll do it here, because, well, Alright, I'm going to back off on that. So we're going to actually keep the rubber and plastic for different planet. And then here, we can at least have the atmospheric condenser. We'll leave behind 1 plastic and the glass we just created. And then we've still got the 2 plastic and the 1 rubber. Alright. Put that back on here. Alright, we need now go make a new thruster or find some graphite. So we're going to try to look in some of the mountainous regions, try to see if we can have any graphite laying around. I only see compound at the moment, but it's alright. Oops. Oh. Alright, good news. We also have a wreck over there. Where is that? It's east of base. So if we just pretty much go almost directly east of base, we'll end up at that wreck. And then we might be able to find some good stuff in there. Oh no. Oh. There we go. Okay. So now that we have some graphite that we can find over there, we can pick up that and then repackage our thruster, and then go see if there's anything cool over at the other wreck that we have. So, helpful tip slash bonus, again, if anybody has not seen fast mining, this is more or less how you do it. I'm still working on trying to get good. But basically you start digging and then click and tap your Alt key. It'll drop in a little bit of soil into the ground, and then immediately when you try to mine it, it will start pulling anything that was immediately surrounding it. So you end up with, oh, come on. You end up finding all sorts of cool stuff. You can also access deposits that are much deeper than you normally would be able to access just with the terrain tool. So trying to grab onto something that's further down or what have you ends up working out pretty well. So that's going to take a while if I dig through there, but it's an option. Alright, I am, let's see, southwest-ish is the correct path to get back. Got it. Good. Oops. Alright, so we're almost... I'm just going to keep flipping it, it's fine. So yeah, the art design is very much based on kind of like a, toy concept, and I'm starting to wonder if the buggy is just basically the slot cars from the 1980s that I used to abuse horribly. Alright. Take this off. We got a few of them, so then we'll go over to packagers. Make one for this. And then we'll just make the other 3 that we can get out of this. And we'll dump the tungsten. The rubber and the plastic we actually do need again for the buggy, but it can be wherever we feel like having a buggy. The tungsten can be placed over here because we're going to need it later. Alright. So we had a wreck. It was just over the hill. On the mountain? Or on this little hill here? Not quite. That was a mistake. Alright. Okay. So now that we're here. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so clay and quartz, not particularly interesting. 2 graphite, which would have been nice. Sphalerite and a zinc. Okay. Useful. Oh no. Okay, so we'll go like this. Alright, out the other end. Alright, so we're going to come over to this side, throw the compound in the appropriate pit. What's the other problem with this? Yep, there we go. Alright, quartz is on the far end. Zinc. I think zinc was there. No, that's it. Alright, I need 2 zinc to bring with me to DeSolo. And I'm going might as well just drop this file right here. And the clay. And make some more packagers. Okay, packagers can be brought around on your shuttle. And I don't just mean like randomly, I mean like you can literally stick them to your shuttle. It threatens to actually package them, but as long as you don't actually hit anything, then you're good. This is just one way to bring around essentially an infinite number of packagers. Or as many as you need. Okay, so we're going to take these with us, and I want to come back before, I want to come back before I go to any other planet and try to set up a base there. So we're going to go to DeSolo and try and dig to the center of the planet. Alright, so to dig to the center of the planet, let's see, I've got a wide and a drill 1, so I think I'm going to try core sliding to this one. It's going to go well, I'm sure. Alright, do we need anything else? I don't think we do at this exact moment in time. I think we're just going to need these. Oh, you know what? It might help to bring the other... I can't bring the other one. Never mind. It's just the oxygenator slot. Yeah, okay. So we only have the one slot that's actually useful here. So we'll just... Anyway. I was thinking it was an oxygenator and a cargo slot, but that's the large one. No. Medium. Nah, doesn't matter. Anyway. Anyway, back to DeSolo. Going to see if we can land the same place that we had before. So this is the activated gateway. Yep, we're back right in the same place we left. Gonna pull this thing out. Put all the titanium back on. At least most of it. Put the iron there. We need to grab a couple of resin as well to make sure that we don't suffocate on the way down. And that's just me being picky, but you know, that's ammonium, so that's not going to help. Oh, this is a collectible. You have the option throughout the game to collect little bits like this. This is actually a Jasper piece of a chess set. So you can go around and collect chess sets from the... I could have also used that to travel. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. Anyway, yeah, so there are many different sets that you can use. Some of them are, I don't remember if there's like an onyx or something like that, but there's jasper, like this one, and several other stones that you can go collect out in the world and complete a chess set. There is also a recreational chess board that you can create at some point or another. Can't remember if you have to research it or not, but either way, Alright, and I'm going to collect one generator just in case. So if we run out of power on the way down, we should be able to restore that. Yeah. Now, in theory, I've already got a light, so I should have enough, but you never know. Things can go kind of slow. Oxygen. And then this can pull this on here. And then we'll be good to go. Right, we need to shift order. So here we're going to put on the wide mod and drill mod 1. Take those back on board. Here we go. So we're going to turn this on. It'll automatically refill with the organic when it comes time. And like I said, hopefully I can manage the descent. Alright, here we go. So, core sliding, take 1. So close. Ah, boo. Get out a little bit more in front. There we go. Slow down a little bit. Okay. Now we gotta alter the angle and try again this way. Make it steeper. Oh, nuts. That's the other problem, is you gotta collect. Keep collecting dirt. Oh no. There we go. We'll never be able to find this place again, but that's it. Alright, we'll turn that off. We now have oxygen when we're in the center of the planet. Moon in this case, I guess. We'll take the geometric triptych and drop this zinc over in here to get a second one, which we will put on the other side up there. Is that gonna... yeah, it's gonna fall. Okay. Well, we'll pick it up from the other side anyway. Alright, the good news about this is that I don't have to dig my way back out again or try to figure out where my hole is, because now I can just jump back to the surface. So this is one of the benefits of DeSolo. Also a weird sprite thing, it's missing all of my backpack items, but once you get back to the surface, they're all there. It's one of those things, I guess. Alright, so I would say that it was actually a fairly successful core slide. So the best option for core sliding is you have at least one canister that is completely full at the beginning, usually 2. You have a wide mod and the appropriate drill bit for whatever planet you're on. You have at least 1 battery, preferably 2, and preferably 2 canisters. But as you dig down, again, what I'd done was I had my generator running, and at the same time, while I was sliding down like this, keeping a little bit ahead with the control button down. It was allowing me to dig probably about 20 or so feet ahead of me, and in doing so, usually keeps digging the soil out. If you can aim where you're digging to like a column somewhere or like a wall of dirt, then you start digging through the wall of dirt. You're replenishing the canister as you're also burning it to place that down in front of you. It's not super easy, but it's not super hard either once you've actually like kind of gotten the hang of it. I kind of have the hang of it. I wouldn't say I'm really good. Alright, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull another iron. That's us full here. And full there. Alright, our thruster's been burned once, so repackage, unpackage, and now it's good as new again. It is a bit of an exploit, but it's okay. And not really anything I can leave behind here, so hop in. Get back to Silva and now construct the atmospheric condenser while we pump out a few of the gases that are in the atmosphere. This will also help to build up a couple of things that we need for future planet falls. Is that... Nope. So we'll increase the speed again until we see our base in sight and launch there. Okay. So first of all, we need a small printer again because I left that on Glacio. So we'll need... Yeah, right. Titanium, we'll just stick right here for right now. Resin. It's back over that way somewhere. I think I pulled the last one, so that could be resin for now. Organic, dump back in here. Generators we can put back on there. Oxygen filters I don't want to get lost. And it doesn't particularly matter, but we can stick this on here. Alright, so aluminum and copper gets us aluminum alloy, which is going to be useful in creating a shuttle. Tungsten carbide is good for drill bits and a few other things. Let's trade this up. And... no, we're good. We'll just stick the generator over there. Take that battery off. Power cell being a temporary battery can go just about anywhere. We'll leave the trip dish here. Don't research. So we need to print now. atmospheric condenser because we have the iron. We have the glass and plastic behind me here. Alright, now we get it. Excuse me just 1 second here. Okay. So we have the other iron in here. Oops. Alright, so we take off the chemistry lab for now. Put on the atmospheric condenser. This will allow us to pump out. Let's go with, we want to find as much hydrogen as we can. We're going to need at least 2. So we can put this here, take off the printer, put that here, allow it to take out, well, it's probably going to find 2, maybe 3 hydrogen, so that'll be okay. At least for now. Oh, yeah. 2 hydrogen canisters is a lot. So, one of the planets is going to need hydrogen canisters. I think that's Atrox, and they only need 1 item in each of them, like 1 gas in each of them before they accept it. So we're going to just pull off the 2 hydrogens individually, and then we need argon for steel. I don't know, we must need hydrogen for something else. Graphene, hydrazine. Yeah. So we need hydrogen and ammonium to get us a lot of hydrazine to be able to create graphene, to be able to create diamond, which we need at some point. Alright, so that is a second one here. Alright, we don't have any methane here, we don't have any sulfur here. We have argon, so that's going to be useful to create steel. We have nitrogen, which is going to be useful for titanium alloy. We don't have helium. Okay. Most of this information you can find in the Astropedia. So if you go to your escape menu, there is the rocket ship here, which is the Astropedia. You can get your resources out of here. Yeah. And this will tell you actually where to find all of your individual resources. So if you realize that you need sphalerite, it's in Silva in the caves, in DeSolo in the mountains. Oh, I guess I didn't have to come back here necessarily. Curses. Alright, cool. Alright, tells you how to refine the resources and where to get them from, and what their individual symbols are. This is also really helpful because some of the, as we'd seen before, some of the boxes that are laying around from EXO Dynamics require some sort of material in order to open them. The one that we had last time especially was laterite, so it has a symbol like this. Sometimes they're hematite, so they have a symbol like this. And they usually have something good in them. Yeah, so nitrogen, Silva, Visania, Atrox. So we're on silver right now. So we're able to get hydrogen, nitrogen, that's it. Nope, not argon. Okay. Hydrogen and nitrogen here. We're going to need a lot of hydrogen in order to create the amount of graphene we need to make a diamond. Okay. So what did I say? We need... What else do we need before we get out of here? So... we can leave the iron behind at the moment. Alright, so in theory we could take these hydrogens down to Atrox, and it wouldn't be awfully horribly hazardous, although it's still pretty bad. No, I want a bigger shuttle before I do that, because I want to take the atmospheric condenser and make sure that we can collect Atrox, sulfur, and what's the other one? Nitrogen we got here, that's fine. Sulfur, methane, and helium. Yep. Really? Ugh. There you go. Right. Okay, so we need... Really? Okay. Can't even look at the blueprints, but that's fine. Alright, so to get the large shuttle, we need ceramic and titanium alloy. Give me 1 second here. Alright. So we need ceramic and titanium alloy. We got the ceramic covered. In order to get titanium alloy, all right, this is where the chem lab comes in. Oh, really? Whatever, fine. You know what? Wait, hang on. We do actually want hydrogen this time, and again, a lot of it. So put that stuff over there. So chemistry lab, we want titanium alloy. Titanium, graphene, and nitrogen. Lovely. So yeah, we're gonna need. All right. A lot of ammonium, a lot of hydrogen. Eventually gets us graphene, and then we'll use one of them, or two of them, to make titanium alloy with nitrogen, which we can find here, and we have titanium, so we're good. We need two of each. Right? Yeah, two of each. So 2 titanium. We need a lot more before we get there, but anyway. We need 2 titanium. That zinc can come off. So I think our next foray out is going to be ammonium. And we had... Wait, whoops. Yeah, we don't need that. Alright, so next foray out is going to be... Man. I'm just not going to turn that on ever. Alright, so we'll go like this. We're going to take full battery that's on me, and we need to make I would like to make, I can't make anything that gets power. Okay, cool. I do want to make a small printer because I burned the other one, or I took the other one I had. Okay. Oh, I did. Okay. Yeah, here we go. So these medium storage silos, I want 2 of these at least. They're really awesome. That's 4 titanium. got 9,000 bytes, so aluminum alloy was really cheap, right? That was just aluminum and copper. Yeah, so that's found all over the place here. So doing a large rover is even just fine. Okay, so then we need, what was the other thing I was going to do? Oh, backpack level, small power stuff. So it's going to be really useful if we can have power. Here we go. Yeah, wind turbine. We don't need batteries yet. We can just keep finding them. And then small solar for copper. So using copper and glass, we can get each of those little things, which is going to be great. Okay, so we'll just, no, okay. There we go. Apparently I needed to have it open or something. Alright, so we're going to stick these out here. These are great because they have so many slots on them. What is that? 6 by 4? 24 slots? Yeah. Pretty wonderful. Alright. Alright. So, we're going to need one of these to be the central repository for, like, everything. Here, let's go like this. It's going to be a bit overkill. I don't need quite that much, but, actually, this will be better. This is way better. Let's put one of those down. And this way, if we collect a whole bunch of hydrogen, it'll still be okay. It's not going to be like filling the thing all the way around one of these. These, on the other hand, are going to need generators. So rather than this small one, or the medium one, we can start putting them on the silos. Now, we need to grab some glass and or copper. So we'll just do 2 glass for the, oops, no, it's that way. Smelter. Why is that here? Okay. I don't think I have any copper left, because I'm pretty sure that I used it while I was way out there somewhere. So, my intention with this is to create two wind turbines and eventually go get some copper to create a single solar panel. Put one of them on the buggy, and then keep the other two on my pack. We probably are not going to need this work light for now, just because that's mostly for underground stuff. There we go. That's it. Now this thing should be hooked up somewhere. We're not running research at the moment, which is not my best plan. Pretty much you should always be running research. Oops. Look. Let's do this. Put that here. I suppose. Nah. You never know. I would find it amusing. Okay. Time to put this, one of these, on buggy. We'll take off over for a copper deposit. So there was one, or malachite deposit over here. Somewhere. Maybe that was the next ridge. Well, there was some malachite anyway. And next thing we need is a crap ton of compound. So I'm looking for the gray blobs. They're over here. Oops. Oh. And I am just burning through energy because I forgot to take off my... Yep, so we got the wide mod and also the drill bit 1 running right now, which again is chewing through the energy here, but at the same time, it's not like I'm using it anywhere else. I'll just keep it on for now, I guess. take out. Alright, can't get anything here at the moment. So, can poke around for malachite. Can poke around for, got a research piece right here. Can't really take it home right now because I don't have space. Yet another. Alright, so here's the other thing. If we stick this in here, it'll charge a lot faster. Not that it's going to help. Stick this back here. Yeah, it's already done now. So that's just silly. But that's the other thing that you can do is have like a couple of batteries running at the same time and just trade them out as you lose battery power. The buggy itself also has 4 fairly large battery slots, so it's not like it's going to run out of power super fast. Alright, so let's drop drill and wide for the moment. So we don't need to be sucking the battery power out. We'll leave these where they are, and then we'll just start making generators. Oops. Go stand over by this thing. And take on that battery. Okay. Go back over here, we'll grab as much compound as we can. All 9. So again, the maximum that we really need is 32 for Glacio. And again, this whole thing is going to be, if we fill this whole thing up, it's going to be 24. So then we need another 8 on the other one. Alright, so we're 1 off from this one, and then we got another 8 to fill up on the other. So we'll go back in here, dump off the battery back with the buggy, and then go find some more compound. Hopefully we can find that malachite that was out here somewhere. Up on the mountain. Yep. And possibly right here. Yep. Nice. You can undermine your own car, that's fine. Not getting a whole lot here, so we'll just move up to the next one where there is actually quite a lot. Come on. Okay. And realistically, I need like 1, so it's not. Oh, right. And we have to refine it first. Can't just take it out of your pocket and use it. Come on. Then we'll plug this organic into here, and then immediately turn this thing off. Because it really likes to leave them on. So now we need a lot of compound. Again, 8 more. Here we go. Six. Seven. And one out, one more for good measure, as long as we can actually still carry it. Nope. this one's full. So that's 24. Four, 5, 6, and it should be 7. Alright, so we need at least one more in order to satisfy production for Glacio. Alright, so actually if we just leave this on where it is, pick up the whole thing. That was not what I wanted. Oh my god. Alright. So it looks like I'm actually clicking slightly early. That time I did. Alright, so we want to take one of these coppers. And might as well make 2. And make some solar panels. Alright, and the only places they actually work are on the shoulders or on your terrain tools, so you gotta make sure it's in one of those spots before you go about your business. So one, 2, and one more. Alright, with a medium printer, I'd like to print out platform. And 2 more. One, 2. Cool. Alright, look at this. Print another one, and then actually put this stuff in. Hey, Saltids. Doing alright, how are you? Messing around with Astroneer at the moment. I've made things a little bit crowded. Oh no, that's not good. No, okay, good. so yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, certainly can understand that. And a year of remote learning isn't helping, I'm sure. Yep, I'm part of a small group of people who hang out with 2 or 3 Astroneer runners, both speed run and just like, hey, let's see what we can actually make out of this game. So I decided to give it a shot, actually put it on my stream, because kind of what I've been going for all along is just kind of showcasing stuff that I'm really into. So Astroneer is one of the so close. Astroneer is kind of a game that I've been into for quite a while. One of my friends told me, in 2016, I think you'd really like this game, and I picked it up in alpha or whatever it was, and just absolutely fell in love with the style and everything like that. Alright, so we can get the chemistry thing there. Large printer's gotta stay out somewhere. Yep. There was a lot of interesting stuff. They actually removed storms, which were actually it was just insane. Like, my friend and I usually just ended up, I mean, you have to either create a shelter underground or dive into a shelter somewhere and hide until the duration of it was over. And SES decided, you know what, maybe that's not so fun. Yeah, a lot of things about it were just so different compared to today. All right. Yeah. All right. So I need to get out there and find maybe a couple of research items. Yeah. So my friend and I we were pretty much just always playing together for the first, I don't know, couple of years, or first year or so. And at some point we lost a little bit of interest and had other stuff going on, so we didn't play for a while. And then I came back to it and I was like, wow, this is different. Yeah. All right. Next time I actually have to find ammonium, but there's a big deposit right there. Yeah, I find this a lot more enjoyable when I am playing with friends. But at the same time, like the game itself, I was trying to speedrun this for a while, like a couple of years ago, but it's, yeah, it got a bit challenging with, having to, Got a bit challenging with having to try and speedrun it while like keeping all of the things that I'm supposed to be doing on a list somewhere, and it just got to the point where I was like, I'm not anywhere near as good as the other people who are speedrunning this, and I don't really have the time to just go out and spend a whole weekend like trying to speedrun something. You know, maybe when I was in college that would have worked, but these days, psh. It's not just getting older either. I mean, the problem really, in my particular case, is like, you know, having a family, which normally I wouldn't actually list as a problem, right? They are pretty awesome. I mean, let's be honest. Also, when I was in college, a number of my friends were just like, "How much time are you gonna spend on this?" I'm like, yep, so got kids, got kids, so basically it's like 9 p.m. on is when I get to do whatever. And of course that does mean I'm sacrificing a good amount of sleep, but you know. What else is new, right? Alright, so then we have actual ammonium. So we need to mine ammonium. Right. And I just completely left these in my inventory. That's cool. Let's take that and put that on here. Do. 9 p.m. Yeah. Good context reading. Also, unlike Valheim, the trees here don't kill you. Organics out. And ammonium in. One. Okay. Need 2 more. I've been watching other people play, and looks like it could be interesting, but I've also got like almost all of the sandbox stuff, and like you said, unless I'm playing with friends, there's not a huge amount of incentive to keep playing. But I don't know. It does look really interesting, and I think I'd probably like it, but I've got a bunch of other games that I need to get through first before I can really think about buying that one. Oh, and then my other friends also bought Space Engineers, and they were like, "You ought to play this." I'm like, "Okay." So we get into it, and like, you can basically build anything you want out of individual cubes, and then you weld it into place, and then you weld it all into place and collect resources as usual, you know, survival stuff. So that was interesting. for the chem lab. What are we going to do with this thing? We need a lot of ammonium. We need a lot of hydrogen. We have a lot of hydrogen. We just picked up a bunch of ammonium, not a huge amount, but, you know, a bit. Alright. So, hydrazine. Can just re-up and go. Should be alright for this set. I'm going to hold that one off to the side just in case. I kind of like it to be used exclusively for stuff that I bring to a different planet, but who knows? We'll see where. We'll see. We'll see when I lose focus and just open it. It's fine, insurance covers it. Alright, I think I'm down to one. This can go over. That can just grab on here. Turn that off. Alright, so I think I'm going to go pick up my solars, which I left in the woods, and see if I can pull any more ammonium out of the ground over there. Shit. Isn't going to be much, but some anyway. good for this one anyway. Go grab the little mini solar panels left on the woods. And oh, one of each. Alright, whatever. Dump that. And we still got one more. There we go. Got anything else going on interesting? Alright, so with all that working right now, I think probably I'm gonna take a 5 to 10 minute break. Grab another drink, grab just make sure I got all this stuff. Graphene. Need graphite. Curses. Right, okay. Yep, I definitely took all of the graphite and put it into packagers. Oh well. Yeah, definitely. We're going to be done in middle of May. Actually, it's our exams aren't until like the week of the starting the 15th and going through like the 20th. It's ridiculous. They're so late this year. Just the way the calendar worked, I guess. Okay. Yep. So I know what needs to be done here. Alright. Yeah, I'm going to take a 10-minute break. Go cycle water. Grab another drink. And I will be back with control. So let's put up the splash screen for that one. Yeah, this summer I'm not going to be doing anything. Normally I have the option of, taking on a class or two um, while we're off, and you know it's good money, but I'm looking forward to actually just spending some time with the kids and not having to worry about anything else. I do unfortunately have to, unfortunately, I do have to teach myself some new stuff that I'm doing next semester and go through Calc 2 again because I haven't done that in years. Last time I taught Calc 2, it was probably my second year of doing full time at this place. So, I mean, that was like 12 years ago. It was fun. You know, second time around, it was much more fun than the first time around. And the first time around teaching it was much more fun than the first time around taking it. As much as I enjoyed my absolutely bonkers teacher that I had, um, he was a former Marine, and so he had like posters up all over the room, and he had his pinky was like bent, like it physically just went out and then down and then over, and everybody's like, "How did you do that?" And he was like, "Fell on it." Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna pop this up. That's not it. Nope. It's bad. I keep having to do display capture, and I hate that. But yeah, it wasn't even a cool story like, I got a nom or something. No. No, I just fell on it. Anyway, yep, 5 to 10. Probably won't be that long, but see you in a couple minutes. And I'll let you view the wonderful fractal on the screen.